If you send me to the House of Representatives, you will indeed be getting a rare bird for a congressman, while I'll also bring many skills to the table that there simply is no comparison to in Washington, D.C. That is, if I can be allowed to take my oath of office, something that will take a rare act of Congress in itself in order to achieve because of my criminal background. Actually, my criminal record from my distant past isn't the problem, but that's the one you would naturally have concerns about, as you should. I have two criminal backgrounds, one from my younger years before I got a grip on my life and straightened up. Then there's a new one I've developed since I found my calling as a political activist. Ironically, with all the various kinds of trouble I managed to get into in my younger years, none of it would have prevented me from taking an oath of office. It was only after I started using the system for good rather than being abused by it for not fitting into society's limited molds that I had my rights to vote, own a handgun, and take oath of office taken away. Confused? I certainly don't blame you there. So let's clear up a few things before moving on. Yes, I'm seriously running for the 11th District of Virginia's House seat. And no, I can't take an oath of office if I win. Like I said, not without a rare act of Congress to allow it, or the President or Justice Department to remove the charge from my record, which I believe will happen if I'm elected. And maybe even long before that, once the word gets out about how and why I was arrested. Then how subsequently I was treated by the federal government during my 13-month stay in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. But you won't have to elect me to get the benefits I promise in my campaign. My campaign is built around an agenda that will be fulfilled before the November 2010 election. So even if you don't like anything about me, you should still watch my issue videos and use the information in them to let your leaders know you're not happy at all with the job they're doing. This campaign is not to get me elected, but to educate you about the issues so another election cycle doesn't pass with the American people not knowing the truth behind the issues because they're being lied to about them. If my campaign is successful, these issues will have to be addressed immediately. When that happens, my job will be complete. But then after that, who else would there be to vote for other than me, even though I can't take an oath of office? But then this is America, where anything can happen. If I do win, we'll have quite a spectacle on our hands with all those suits and ties trying to figure out what to do with me. And I'll surely know what to do with them, the same as I've always done. Keep my foot pounding them where the sun don't shine, making sure they get the message that they have no choice but to do what's expected of them, because there's an outsider in town who doesn't care the least little bit about the inner circle rules they use to rip us off for our future and freedom with. In fact, my plan, if I'm elected, is to turn that city into a reality TV circus where you won't have to worry about what I do behind closed doors, because you'll be coming with me everywhere I go via live feed to the internet. And I plan to knock on a lot of locked doors with the cameras in tow while I'm there. If that gets a lot of doors slammed in my face, then they'll have to do it in front of the American people. I hear the biggest problem on Capitol Hill is the nightlife, a never-endless parade of parties and privileges thrust at our public servants' feet from the time they step off the plane at Reagan National Airport. As for me, I live just down the street from that airport and can catch a free ride to the city on most any morning by simply going up the street from my home to the Virginia rail station to stand in the slug line to get picked up by commuters who need extra riders so they can use the HOV lanes. What I mean is, Washington is nothing new to me because I've lived here all my life. Besides, I have long hair and tattoos and talk like I grew up on the streets, which I mostly did. So I would never be welcome or trusted in their discreet circles where they trade away our future for party favors and a lot of free money. I call them the people that love free money, which is the kind of people who tend to flock towards being in control of the working class people in any society. Ours is no different. So what I would do is use the bully pulpit created by my unique success to stalk the Washington party circuit with a camera crew, forcing them to get even more creative in how they hide their tactics from the American people until eventually they're run out of town. At the same time, I'll be leading whoever follows me in the House, while crushing those who don't, to get the kind of things done in that city that we've been waiting for, but all that ever happens is things get worse. And if you worry about how I expect to not get sucked into their inner circle of greed and corruption like so many that have gone before me, if I did, it would work against my plan for my own personal success. See, win or lose, my plan is to use this bid for power as a background to get a book deal to tell my story. If it weren't for the fact that my story is about topics that simply aren't going to be published in a major market because the publishers themselves are part of the cabal that runs our country through Wall Street and Washington, D.C., I would already have a bestseller and a movie that ranks up there with Aaron Brockovich's exploits. But then if it weren't for the fact that the people who benefit from the lies the American people are told didn't go to so great lengths to cover it up, there wouldn't be anything for me to have the issues with. So for that, I'm grateful. The point is that my success will lead to a book deal that can't be easily dismissed the way it is now. Then after that, each new success will increase the value of my story. So if I sold out, everything I've done up till then would be worthless. If I live up to my campaign promises and run all the lobbyists out of Washington, I'll become filthy rich from all the books I'll be able to sell telling the story about how I did it. So in order for them to beat me, they would have to put a better deal on the table than I already put there myself. Since I don't care about money, at least I don't think I do because I've never had any, then whatever they come up with will have to be along the lines of fixing problems rather than making them worse. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, so you should feel confident that I'm truly in this for the money I can make on a book deal that will only be successful if I do a good job or get shot trying, which would also sell a lot of books. But since I don't know anything about having money, I couldn't really be in it for the money. So really what I'm saying is that when Washington starts to hit the fan, I'll be getting offers for a book deal, one of which I may accept because I want to tell my story. I just don't want you to think I'm in it just for the money, even though I am, maybe. I won't know till I have some. Even then, I don't see myself having much use for it. Like I said, I can catch free rides downtown easy enough, so it would just be extra weight I would have to carry around. So let's move on to telling you more about me. I'll start from the beginning and work forward since that's the order of how it went down. I had a hard upbringing. I was the second son of my parents and was born in France. My older brother was retarded. But since it was my parents' first son and they were far from home when he started showing signs of not developing normally, they didn't notice it because they didn't know what to look for. Then I came along and showed them by developing so much quicker than him. They first mistook this for my being overly talented, which they thought was a terribly unfair trick for God to play on my older brother, where his younger brother would excel ahead of him at everything they did. He was later diagnosed and I was cast as the oldest brother, while my parents' hopes were punished pretty badly by the finding. All this seemed to promote my growing up quicker than most, so by the time I got to high school I'd gone through just about all the schooling I was willing to stand for. The truth is I gave up by the time I was 10, but they kept making me go anyway. Since there wasn't much movement in the direction of allowing kids access to the adult world in those days, I started getting in trouble with the kinds of friends I gravitated towards. Ones who'd also grown up with issues that made it hard for them to focus on school because they had already had too much real-world experience. By the end of my second pass through the 9th grade, I was told not to return to high school anymore. So I went to work cooking Kentucky Fried Chicken during the day and studying for my GED at night. I passed it and enrolled in college by the time I was 17. When my class graduated from high school, I'd been in college for a year getting very good grades taking engineering classes while working as a draftsman. It seemed that as soon as no one was telling me what to do, I went right to work doing what they had all been trying to get me to do, but I refused to listen. I, however, was still getting in a lot of trouble in my spare time. I had learned to enjoy trouble while at the same time figuring out how to play by the rules. After my class graduated from high school, I took the summer off from college to run around with my friends getting crazy. At the end of that summer, I broke my leg in a motor scooter accident. This cost me 16 weeks in bed in traction and then a body cast. Then I found my leg had been set wrong, so I walked with a bad limp. This was in no way acceptable to me, nor was the $5,000 I owed the doctor who did it to me. So I got a job, re-broke my leg on the job, then reset it myself. This got my medical bills paid for, as well as all the money I already owed. Since I had reset it perfectly, once I was able to walk again, the limp was gone. About the same time, though, my parents decided to get a divorce. This set in motion a sequence of events that led to my living on the streets because I wasn't willing to risk breaking my leg a third time by going back to work. 12 years later, after many passes Between living under bridges while eating out of dumpsters in the county jail, I moved off the streets to slowly make my way back into society. But this was only because it was becoming a losing battle to live like that anymore. I lost 3 very nice shacks along the Beltway in a very short period of time, with the last one being removed by the Virginia Department of Highways at the instruction of a local politician who was angry that I'd been advocating for a young boy who'd been raped in a foster home, then abandoned by the county to cover it up.